Hey, what's going on out there, YouTube family? This is Samuel here representing Team JVS. I'm back here again for another movie review. This is a Netflix premiere film, star-studded cast. This was an adaptation from August Wilson's Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Now, this was directed by George Wolfe. It was written and scripted by Ruben Santiago Hudson, and it stars Chadwick Boseman, Viola Davis, Glynn Truman, and who's a notable one? Colman, Domingo, and there's somebody else. Oh, Michael Potts played the role of Slow Drag. So you got Slow Drag, you got Cutler, you got Toledo, you got Levy, and you got Ma Rainey. Now, Ma Rainey also has a little nephew named Sylvester and somebody else who's Dusan. And so what I'm gonna say very quickly is that the loss of Chadwick Boseman is, from creative arts and cinematography standpoint of cinema, is a very huge loss. And I will tell you off the gate that some of his scenes in this one were captivating. I'll go ahead and say that right now. And he will be forever missed. So it would grieve me not to even acknowledge that and talk about it. I want to go ahead and admit to that, talk about it so we can maneuver forward about the validity and the thought process of this functioning as a adaptation of an actual play, much in the lines of One Night in Miami or Moonlight. A lot of people don't know that about Moonlight. Now, one thing that I'll say when I first started watching this is that there's a moment in the film where I realized that every part of this film is going to be taking place in the studio area. Like, we're not going anywhere outside of that. So it automatically kind of made me feel we're kind of back to what Reed and King did with One Night in Miami, with that adaptation. With this one, off the gate, Viola Davis's presence, she had already kind of admitted she knew that the character was going to be about 300 pounds. She only was able to gain about 200, and she got to a weight of 200, and then she got to use the bodysuit. But when you first hear her and Viola's just going, she is immersed into it, and she is going for it. And this is not your sad, cry me Viola Davis performance. Like, no, she is going for it. There's a scene that she has with the character Dusan, honestly, in the very beginning, that was played by Taylour Paige, was one of the most creepy, cringy, and sick scenes that I've seen in a very long time. It was very, very uncomfortable. Let's just say that. And then Chadwick's character, Levy, he has this one scene that if I was in his place and as an actor, I don't know that I could have not only performed it or even attempted to verbalize the execution of what was on the paper. Because the character Levy is a trumpet player, he is very abrasive, he's very combative, he very much so feels that he is entitled to be this certain way and strives to having his own band. And Ma Rainey is basically his antagonist or protagonist, you would say, of this film, because she believes the same. She believes she's entitled, that she's due what she's owed, and what her way is right, no matter what everybody else says, what they think about her. And she's very much so understanding and knowledgeable about her place in all of this, even at a fault. Like, because one of the characters that she continuously, I don't want to say abuses verbally, but Irvin, the manager, is consistently trying to do things to try to help and do whatever he can to go through hoops. But you can tell that there's other things soaked into the reality of the situation, especially based on the era, especially based on the timing, and she's supposed to be the queen of the blues. And yeah, I don't want to spoil anything. If you know the play, it does play the same exact way. It doesn't deviate from that, and to a fault, I would say personally, because with Viola's character, the presence is so strong in the very first act, and the performance is so amazing in the very first act, that by the second act, transition to the third act, it is kind of lessened for the script and the progression of the story, which is at a fault. Now, with Chadwick's character, Levy, and I know other people have some really good standouts as well, I'll get to that. In the beginning, kind of just like, oh, okay, what's going on? But then he starts to talk a little bit of dialogue about where he comes from, or who he is, and why he does what he does, and why his mind works the way it does. And you start like, oh, okay. By the third act, again, the line delivery, he has some of the most standouts. Like, this very much so is Chadwick's time to shine in terms of the volume and the way his character is executed in this film. Amazing work. And as far as the cinematography was okay. I think they were able to capture some really good moments. It definitely reminded me of a little bit of Legend. Well, I ain't gonna say that. I don't want to spoil it. But let's just say that the moments where they're showing close-up shots of them singing and trying to work and organize together, and just also the authenticity of the era in terms of communication, way the band functions and facilitated by the situation that they're in, being African American in that time. I think it was very visceral. I think it was very there. I think it was very prevalent, especially the very last moments. Like, you realize that it's a stalemate no matter what way you look at it. It doesn't matter what the drive, the talent, it still just doesn't matter. As far as the music is concerned, music was pretty good. But the weird thing about it, normally with stage plays, like, music is the thing that sells it. The music in this doesn't sell it. Like, I think that Viola's performance is great, and it could be that was Viola singing, but that wasn't what I interpreted or felt from this, but she was. Goodness. But the strongest thing was the performance in this one. Then, like I said, you got legends, and Glynn Turman plays the role of Toledo. Toledo has a really good standout. 2 really good scenes that Glynn was able to really pull out some good acting moments. And not just that, a lot of the conversations that are being had with these men and women were listening and reacting to certain circumstances, whether it's Ma Rainey like reacting in a very irate and irrational way, or maybe Levy going off of a tangent on a circumstance that kind of happened to him, and just their recollection and watching him. Some of those scenes are very gold. Like, they're able to do a lot without saying or verbalizing anything. Colman, Domingo, ever since Fear the Walking Dead, I've been following this man. And they don't really give his character Cutler too much to do, in my personal opinion. But his execution of his character in the facilitation of this role is done perfectly. Like, I mean, they didn't give him anything to do as far as like acting up, but he played his role very well. He played the Scottie Pippen role. Like, he was giving Chadwick those alley-oops. They were playing off of each other most of the time. As far as chemistry is concerned, chemistry didn't seem like it was organic as it really could have been, in my personal opinion. But they definitely did balance off each other very well. Michael Potts plays the role of Slow Drag. I think they didn't do that much with his character. But he was very interesting, engaging, comedic. And not just that, it was a authenticity of the way they actually reacted and interacted with each other. I thought that I really did appreciate. But in terms of the backdrop of this, and I haven't even read the synopsis, in Chicago of 1927, a recording session, tensions rise between Ma Rainey and her ambitious horn player, and the white management determined to control the uncontrollable. Mother of Blues, based on the Pulitzer Prize winner August Wilson's play. Now, August Wilson also did Fences, so much reason probably why Viola Davis got put into this one. I think Denzel Washington is also a producer on this one. I think that the execution of this works, but the problem that I have with it is that there are so many ways that they could have made this a little bit longer film and dissected who Ma Rainey is. Or instead of exposition, showing certain scenes with what Levy is describing or talking about. Or even any of the actual characters. As opposed to actually just using exposition and talking through it, they very much so could have really recollect these moments and let those organically go through and either acted out or shown. And it could have been so visceral and vivid that I think the reason why they did that and using exposition is to allow you to get an emotional resonance from them executing these lines and delivery. But I feel like there were ways that they could have executed these just as strongly if they would have added certain things. And even if it wasn't flashbacks, I think that showing different moments with even like a character like Ma Rainey from Viola Davis, I think that she could have destroyed some scenes. Destroyed them. To make this honestly be another Oscar contention. But the ending for the way her character goes forward is more so sacrifice for the understanding of why this story is the way it is. What is actually happening? What was the purpose behind everything? Now it's kind of forfeited in terms of what the volume of the character's caliber could have really been. Now, Chadwick on the other hand, I think that it's very possible he's going to get a nomination. Straight up. And I think that it would be deserving of it. I think that there's a scene, as I said, that was one of the most scary, eerie, and captivating scenes that only somebody that is able to immerse themselves into a script can really do. And that is hard. That is hard. And he was able to do it. In terms of the review number for this movie, I would rest it at a 7.5, maybe 8 out of 10. I wish it was a little bit longer. I think that they could have really done a lot more with the characters. Some characters were one note. Some characters were understanding. Some of the things that were done in the pacing and the plotting were sacrificed to make the ending be resolved. This was only an hour and 35 to hour 40-minute movie. And I think they just could have done a little bit more with it. But for what I did get is a self-contained play, but at the same time, it wasn't the adaptation that I was really kind of hoping for, but it was still really good. And I think you'll have a really emotionally resonant time with it, as well as what they're really trying to say with it. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. I'll talk to you guys later on. Keep it locked. JVS, we ain't gonna stop. Peace, guys.